When the internet began, bulletin board services, or BBS, became the first online communities of the so-called information superhighway. Using their phone lines, people logged in from all over America to talk about sports, games, movies, and on one BBS in particular, share their ghost stories. Over time, those communities all went dark, except for one lone server that continues to operate somewhere in an unknown part of Pennsylvania's Rust Belt. A relic of the 1990s, veiled in mystery, it is a digital archive of humanity's strangest encounters with the unknown, as told by the people who experienced them. My name is Brandon Schexnayder, and you are listening to Fear Daily.
Subject: lightning strike. User: one lucky schmuck. Posted May 23, 1999.
I was walking home from the bus stop the day it happened. I'd stayed late at the machine shop, waiting out a thunderstorm, but the clouds weren't done with me. About halfway down Pecan Grove Road, the sky just cracked open, and the next thing I remember is waking up in a hospital bed with my sister crying and a priest at the foot of it like he'd just lost a bet. They told me I'd been in a coma for 27 days, struck by lightning, and stopped breathing for almost 2 minutes before the EMTs got me back. They found me still smoking. My shoes had melted into the asphalt. You know that smell after a firecracker goes off? That's how my skin smelled for a week, like ozone and burnt hair. I went home eventually, but couldn't go back to work right away. Not with the shakes and the weird heart rhythm they were monitoring. So I spent a lot of time sitting on my porch, watching squirrels ruin the bird feeder and trying to feel normal again. That's when I first saw the man in the gray suit. He was standing at the edge of my yard, not doing anything, just watching. No car nearby, no neighbors out. It was late afternoon, too early for headlights and too late for salesmen. I figured maybe he was with the city, or maybe I was still loopy on pain meds, but the next day, he was there again, and this time he waved. I didn't wave back. After that came the little girl in the blue jumper sitting on the swing set out back. I haven't had kids on this property since my nephew came to visit in '89, and even then, that swing set was rusted through. She didn't speak at first, just sat and kicked her feet like she was waiting for someone. Next was the woman with the long braid. She stood behind my recliner one night while I was watching Jeopardy, arms folded like she lived there, and when I spun around, she smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'm just listening." Then vanished. That is when I started to think I was losing it. I told my doctor, and he blamed the head trauma, said lightning strikes can cause micro lesions on the brain, basically giving you the symptoms of schizophrenia without actually being schizophrenic. He recommended a specialist in Bowling Green, but I never called. Deep down, I wasn't convinced this was something they could scan for. Because these people, these things, they weren't just hallucinations. They talked to me about things they shouldn't have known. Like the man in the gray suit. I asked him finally who he was, and he said, "I used to live on your land. died in 57, Mule kicked me in the chest. I laughed, nervous, but he didn't. The next day, I dug out an old deed map my uncle kept in the attic. Sure enough, the lot used to be part of a larger farm owned by the Dandridge family. Samuel Dandridge was listed in the 1950 census. Farmer died 1957. Sudden cardiac trauma. Coincidence? Maybe. Until the girl on the swing told me my mother had a miscarriage before I was born, said her name was Anne. I asked my sister, and she turned white. Said Mama never told me. Said she lost a baby girl when she was 6 months along. Buried her quietly out in Hillside Cemetery. Said she named her Anne after our grandmother. These are not memories I should have access to. Not buried family secrets, not death certificates from decades ago, and yet here I am surrounded by ghosts or something like them that know more about my life than I do. Sometimes they warn me. The woman with the braid told me not to take the parkway one day, said I'd regret it. I didn't listen and ended up behind a 6-car pileup for 4 hours in 95-degree heat with a busted AC. Another time, the girl pointed at a bottle of orange juice and said, "Not that one." Turned out it had expired days ago. I should be terrified, but I'm not. It's not like a haunting, at least not from a horror movie. They're not floating or glowing or doing creepy demon movie shit. They're just there, like a second life running parallel to mine, always a few inches out of step. They don't knock over glasses or leave footprints. They come and go like sunlight on a cloudy day. Some stick around longer than others. But here's the part that really gets me. About 2 weeks ago, the man in the gray suit asked me a question. "Do you know what you're seeing?" he said, real calm, like we were just two guys waiting for a bus. I told him no, that I figured maybe I was dead and just didn't know it, that maybe the coma had never ended. He shook his head. "Nope," he said. "You just stopped filtering." "What do you mean?" I responded. "You ever tune a radio just a little off the station? You still hear the song, but there's static, background stuff. Most people live with filters that keep them from noticing the static, but yours got blown out. You're hearing the rest of the broadcast now." I did not know what to say. He tipped his hat and said, "Might not be just ghosts either. Some of us never lived, and some of us haven't yet." I've not seen him since, but yesterday a boy showed up. He's maybe 16, has my eyes, and keeps asking questions about cars. He knows my name, says he likes the way I fix things, says his mom used to talk about me a lot before she passed. I don't have any kids, never married, and never even got close. He asked if I still had the truck, said he remembers riding in it. My truck's been in the barn for years, same one I had in high school. When I went out there this morning, the key was in the ignition. The boy was gone. I don't know what I'm seeing anymore. Spirits, echoes, possible futures. Maybe it's all part of what happens when you get yanked halfway out of this world and shoved back in before you're done cooking. But they're real. I swear they're real. And if you've ever been close to dying, maybe you've seen them too. Maybe you're just not ready to admit it just yet.
Subject, Piggies. User, rfarm79. Posted, September 22nd, 1996.
Ain't no way in goddamn hell anyone is gonna believe me on this. I sure as fuck know I wouldn't, but there's a goddamn dozen wild-ass pigs out here tearing the shit out of my herd, and I swear to Christ, I heard one of them snorting out words like he knew what the hell he was doing. I ain't talking about no rabid hog rooting around in the compost pile, neither. I'm talking about my own pigs I raised from squealing little bacon bits, out there in the dark, teeth sunk into the belly of one of my cows like they was born predators. It was near midnight when I heard the first ruckus, echoing through the valley like thunder with a limp. I grabbed my boots and my 12 gauge and headed out, thinking maybe a bobcat or some son of a bitch poacher was making trouble again. What I found in that pasture was a damn bloodbath. 3 of them was on Daisy, my old milk cow. She was still kicking, screaming like the world was ending, but they didn't give 2 shits. They weren't eating her like animals, no. They were tearing into her like it was a goddamn mission. One had her udder in its mouth, and the other 2 were pulling intestines like rope. I raised the barrel and fired straight into the side of the nearest one, blew a chunk clean out of its back, and that bastard just turned its head and looked at me, eyes like glass, and then, I shit you not, it said, clear as I'm speaking to you right now, mine. I froze. My hand shook so bad I damn near dropped the gun. That thing didn't even flinch, just snorted and kept chewing. By the time my boys showed up, Jed, Leroy, and Curtis, I dropped 2 more, but they didn't go down easy. Jed rolled up the truck, lights on high, and that scattered the rest of them into the woods behind the barn, but I'll never forget the way they ran. Upright, some of them, like a drunk man remembering how to walk. We spent the rest of the night boarding up the house. Jed hammered the windows shut. Curtis pulled everything we had from the cellar, ammos, beans, 2 bottles of Old Crow I'd been saving since before his mama passed. But that was 3 nights ago, and no, we ain't slept since. They come at dusk, mostly. Not a full-on charge, but creeping, circling, 1 or 2 at a time, making those low throat sounds that sound too close to words to be anything natural. One of them had a big welt on the side of its head like a cancer, kept saying, no, no, no. Every few seconds, like it was stuck on the word but didn't know what it meant. Another one sounded like it was trying to hum. You ever heard a pig hum, son? Well, that'll twist your fucking spine, all right. It's clear these little fuckers ain't just animals no more. No, there's something else now, something made, and I'm pretty damn sure it was either some man in a suit or the devil himself who done had a hand in it. So here we are, boarded up inside this old ranch house, those little pork-ass devils chomping at the bit outside, and I only got 2 shells left, so I figure tonight's gonna be the big one. They've done stopped circling and have been awful quiet, too quiet, and I think maybe they know, and I can feel them waiting, listening.
Fear Daily is an independent podcast hosted by Brandon Schexnayder and written by Brennan Storr, with Joanna Smith serving as the consulting editor, audio production by Rachel Boyd, and sound design by Southern Gothic Media. This podcast is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or to real events or locations, is entirely coincidental. Ad-free versions of Fear Daily are available now on your favorite podcast apps. For more information, visit feardaily.com. But move fast, before the server goes offline.